Why are we stressing? Yeah, he might owe 50 million.
Just with those two fights, Canelo and the Pacquiao fight, 400 million, just with those two fights.
Imagine getting a letter from the IRS saying you owe millions in taxes. That is how Floyd Mayweather got knocked out, by the IRS.
Stephen A. Smith, known for speaking his mind, recently called out Floyd Mayweather over his money troubles. He questioned how someone who claims to have made millions from boxing still has unresolved debts, especially with the IRS. Smith pointed out that a man with Mayweather's level of wealth shouldn't be caught up in these kinds of financial problems. He also warned that issues like this could damage Mayweather's legacy. His comments underline the gap between Mayweather's flashy image and the financial issues he's dealing with behind the scenes.
This comes up to about $140 million that you're throwing around. I don't understand this, but here's all I gotta say. For those of you that are looking at him and you're saying to yourself, excuse me, according to the reports, he makes about $1.5 million per show or whatever. Why are we stressing? Yeah, he might owe 50 million.
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back in questioning Floyd Mayweather's money choices. He said it's hard to understand how someone who's made so much money could end up in these kinds of financial messes. Smith suggested that Mayweather's behavior not only raises financial red flags but also hurts his standing in the sports world. He stressed that athletes, especially those in the spotlight, need to manage their money wisely. In Smith's view, Mayweather's troubles are a warning to others about what can happen when wealth isn't handled carefully.
You know, kind of sold that. It was great marketing. He's not a boxer, but hey, he was a knockout artist in the UFC. I get it. John Gotti III, I don't know anything about him. I'm not trying to disrespect him. And yes, I'm being smart. I'm not trying to disrespect the grandson of a mobster. Fair enough. But what I'm trying to say is this. When you're great, when you're elite, not just anybody deserves to be in your pristine space. And what I mean by that is I'm not talking about on the street or anything like that. Boxing is your thing.
Floyd Mayweather, famously known as Money Mayweather, has never been shy about showing off his fortune. He's claimed to have made $400 million from just two fights, one with Manny Pacquiao and another with Canelo Alvarez. His 2015 fight with Pacquiao alone brought in over $400 million, and Mayweather reportedly took home a huge chunk of that, but despite those massive earnings, he came under financial scrutiny when the IRS filed a $22.2 million lien against him for unpaid taxes from 2015. That raised eyebrows, especially since Mayweather has built a brand around wealth and luxury. In response, Mayweather said he had already paid $26 million in taxes for that year and questioned why the IRS was still coming after him. He insisted his financial empire was solid and brushed off any doubts about his money management. Still, the gap between his public image and these tax troubles shines a light on just how tricky managing huge sums can be, even for one of the richest athletes in the world.
Tonight is fighting again, and they say that he's fighting for money. How could that be?
Your team. You know what it's all about? Who you surround yourself with. I don't know who's his promoter. I gave him the option before. But Manny spoke before about fighting the first time. I think I offered him, $40 million. I don't know if it was, but I told him I would wire him $20 million within 48 hours. And then at that particular time, he said he wanted 50-50, and he got off the phone. And at that time, I think I was going to make for that fight probably $75 million at that time, somewhere upwards of 75 million. But it's all about timing. I took my time. I waited. We communicated.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. often looks back on the tough road that led him to the top. Raised in New Jersey, he grew up in a cramped one-bedroom apartment with several family members and faced real struggles, including times when the power was shut off. His mother battled drug addiction, and his father, Floyd Sr., spent years in prison during Floyd's childhood. Through it all, boxing became his escape and his purpose. "I basically raised myself," Mayweather once said, showing how much self-reliance he learned from a young age. His father, a former boxer himself, taught him the importance of discipline and focus, urging him to stay away from distractions like the media and let his skills do the talking. Mayweather's mindset is summed up in one line: it's never good enough. That drive, combined with his refusal to be fazed by criticism, has fueled his rise. He's always been more focused on reaching his goals than on pleasing others. His journey shows what's possible with determination and resilience, proving that no matter where you start, you can still rise to the very top.
Before I can take care of anyone outside the home, I must take care of home first. So what I believe in every day is I strengthen my children and my family by giving them wisdom about life. In the boxing world, my dad taught me also, the less you get hit, the longer you can last in the sport of boxing. That's anything in life. For a person that's working a 9 to 5, an everyday job, you want to take as less punishment as possible on the job so you can last a very long time and feed your family. And then my dad also taught me this. It's never good enough. No matter what, it's never good enough.
Stephen A. Smith has been outspoken in his criticism of Floyd Mayweather for continuing to take part in exhibition fights, often against opponents who aren't on his level, like Conor McGregor. Smith questioned why someone who made around $280 million from his fight with McGregor would still step into the ring for these matchups. He argued that the motivation seems to be money, not competition. Smith believes these kinds of fights hurt Mayweather's legacy. When you're that great, not just anyone deserves to share the ring with you, even in retirement, he said. In his view, Mayweather's current opponents don't match the high-caliber fighters he faced in his prime, and that contrast could take away from how fans remember him. Smith also pointed out the inconsistency between Mayweather's massive earnings and his financial problems, such as a $22.2 million tax lien from the IRS in 2015. He questioned how someone with so much money could run into those kinds of issues, suggesting it comes down to poor financial management. Mayweather has long been known for his flashy lifestyle and big public gestures. In May 2024, reports claimed he handed out $30,000 in cash to 3 homeless men outside the Crypto.com arena in Los Angeles. The story went viral, with many praising the act. But not long after, Mayweather posted on Instagram, from Dubai. That raised doubts about whether he was actually in LA at the time. The timing of the post led some to believe the story may have been exaggerated or misrepresented, casting a shadow over the reported act of generosity.
So where is Floyd Mayweather? Is he still stuck in Dubai? Is he back in the United States? Because, there's been a lot of contradicting stories coming out about this, but we do have an update of exactly what's going on. And I do think there is some lying involved. I don't know who's lying, but somebody is lying. And that's what we're going to figure out in today's video. By the end of this video, I hope we figure out where Floyd Mayweather is. So on the 2nd of May, TMZ came out with this article. It says Floyd Mayweather gives $30K to group of homeless men before Clippers game. Now this comes amid, rumors of Floyd Mayweather being stuck in Dubai because he owes people money. And, these are coming from trustworthy sources, Gervonta Davis, Floyd Mayweather, people who know about Floyd Mayweather's inner life. But back to TMZ. So they reported Floyd Mayweather was courtside for last night's pivotal Clippers versus Mavericks game, but before money got to the arena, he was handing it out, blessing 3 homeless men with $30K. Now, there are no pictures, there is no video of this happening, but there is an official TMZ article, and TMZ usually gets it right. TMZ also said, we're told Mayweather began talking to the guys and decided he wanted to help, so he busted out his backpack and blessed each guy with 10 racks.
This situation highlights just how tricky public perception can be, and how hard it is for celebrities to maintain a consistent image. Floyd Mayweather recently claimed he carried out a charitable act in Los Angeles, which was widely reported. But doubts quickly surfaced when people noticed he was actually in Dubai around the same time. That raised questions about whether the event really happened or if it was simply a publicity move to polish his image. The mismatch between his reported actions and his actual location made many people skeptical of his intentions. While genuine acts of charity can boost a celebrity's reputation, anything that feels staged or dishonest can do serious damage. In Mayweather's case, the inconsistency made it seem like he was using charity to promote himself rather than to help others. It served as a reminder that when a public figure's words and actions don't line up, trust can quickly erode. Once hailed as one of the greatest boxers of all time, Mayweather is now facing growing scrutiny over how he handles his money. Despite making enormous sums, like the $220 million he reportedly earned from his 2015 fight with Manny Pacquiao, he's had repeated issues with the IRS. In 2017, the IRS filed a $22.2 million tax lien against him for unpaid taxes from that same year. Mayweather responded by asking the U.S. tax court to delay collection until after his 2017 bout with Conor McGregor, which was expected to bring in even more revenue. He claimed most of his assets were tied up and not easily accessible, so paying right away wasn't possible. But the IRS argued that with his level of wealth, he had more than enough resources to settle his debts. This back and forth sparked debate about the sustainability of Mayweather's high-spending lifestyle and whether his image of immense wealth truly reflects reality. While he continues to say that his exhibition fights are just for fun, many question whether financial pressures are a bigger factor than he's letting on.
Yes. But he's just flaunting, as you said, he's flaunting his opulence. He's also flaunting basically his middle finger at the IRS. You cannot do this.
No.
You will lose. This is one foe you can't outrun or outdance or outsmart or play defense on. You just can't get away with it. You can try for a while, but the clock is just, that meter is just running and running and running, and it's just going straight up. Interest and penalty. As we speak. Another day just passed, another interest penalty. And I don't get Floyd, because he's so out there with it, as you say, on Instagram. So it's not like he's trying to hide his opulence. He is throwing it out for all to see with all those cars and all the it's outrageous, and he's earned it.
Joe Rogan recently shared his surprise at Floyd Mayweather's over-the-top spending habits during a podcast episode. He was clearly shocked by Mayweather's collection of high-end luxury items, like million-dollar watches and piles of diamonds. He needs money to keep coming in if you're going to spend like this, Rogan said, raising concerns about how sustainable that kind of lifestyle really is. Mayweather's finances have been under the spotlight for years, especially when it comes to his taxes. Back in 2017, the IRS filed a $22.2 million lien against him for unpaid taxes from 2015, the same year he earned a massive payday from fighting Manny Pacquiao. Even though Mayweather claimed he had already paid $26 million in taxes that year, there were still unresolved issues. More recently, in 2024, he reportedly paid over $18 million to the IRS, suggesting that tax problems have followed him even into retirement. These details show that even the highest-paid athletes can struggle with managing their money. Rogan's comments are a strong reminder: no matter how much you make, smart financial planning is essential.
He owed that money to the IRS. How much does he owe?
It's in the $20+ million range.
It's a lot of money, man.
But it's not something that he's been, it's not like deception.
No.
It's just neglect to pay.
Neglect. And it's also like, I think, and there is like a truth to this, he makes so much money, there's probably a point when they're like, hey, it's time to pay your taxes. And you go like, all right, here's a check for $25 million. That's an incredible amount of money. And then they go, that's true, but you owe 50 more. And he's just like, that can't be right. I've given you $25 million.
Yeah, he's bought over 100 luxury cars from the same dealer and always pays in cash.
He has $15 million worth of cars.
Congrats. You can sell those.
Floyd Mayweather's former accountant, Dave Hall, recently revealed how casually the boxing star treated large amounts of money. According to Hall, Mayweather often brushed off figures like $50,000, $100,000, or even $200,000, treating them as if they were no big deal. To him, money always seemed plentiful, so he didn't feel the need to keep close track of it, but Hall explained that this mindset raised serious concerns, especially among high-net-worth investors. For example, in a deal involving a $100 million property, a $10 million profit taxed at 37–40%, instead of a lower rate of 20–24%, can make a major financial difference. That kind of gap highlights how critical smart tax planning is, particularly with potential policy changes on the horizon, like the possible elimination of the step-up in basis rule. Mayweather's story, Hall suggests, is a cautionary tale. No matter how much money you have, ignoring the details can lead to costly consequences.
How much money do you have in your bank account?
Which account? Which bank?
You have more than one account?
Absolutely.
I don't even have one account. Give me the amount of money you have in one of your accounts.
200 million? 300 million?
Dollars?
Yeah, in different accounts.
Floyd Mayweather's former accountant has offered insight into the boxing champ's relaxed attitude toward money. He revealed that Mayweather often shrugged off amounts like $50,000, $100,000, or even $200,000, treating them as if they were pocket change. To him, those numbers didn't move the needle, the accountant said. highlighting a mindset that raised red flags for serious investors. For high net worth individuals, those kinds of amounts matter, especially when dealing with major investments. The accountant explained that for assets like a $100 million commercial property, even a small increase in the tax rate can mean millions in extra costs. For instance, a $10 million gain taxed at 37 to 40% instead of 20 to 24% could result in a significantly larger tax bill. This is why smart, detailed financial planning is crucial. Mayweather's laid-back approach to these financial details has led some to question whether he's doing enough to preserve and grow his wealth. Despite his huge earnings in the ring, this behavior suggests a possible lack of focus on long-term financial health. His story highlights how managing great wealth takes more than just making money. It requires strategy, discipline, and attention to detail.
I can be able to do a solo 401k, but you can do solo self-directed 401ks, $20,500 contribution that can go in there from you. You can also have employers. I mean, you can get up to 50, I think it's actually $64,000 into those this year. So, I mean, again, large amounts you can get inside of there, which if you got the extra money, then builds up to where you can buy properties. Maybe initially you're just doing loans, but over time you're starting to buy actual assets inside of there, and all that's growing tax-free.
Yeah. So do you see any issues coming up front? Any issues coming up, or any challenges, or anything that can affect tax changes that are coming? Obviously, tax rates are going up, but anything that's anyone that's listening, that's a real estate investor, should be aware of, or
Yeah. The biggest thing that they're talking about is increasing the long-term capital gains rate, getting it back up to ordinary tax. Now, what's being discussed is anything over $1 million transaction. So you'd have many people that are getting into just residences, making 100, 200 grand here or there, $50,000 not going to affect. But for those large investors, obviously that's becoming very concerning, because if you've got a building, big mall or something else, it could be worth $100 million. All of a sudden you've got a $10 million profit on there that's now going to be taxed at 37 or 40 versus 20 to 24. Huge difference. So that's the biggest one people are keeping their eye on. There are some discussions that the step up in basis would go away with death, that people would no longer be able to get real estate with the step up in basis. But both of these have kind of fizzled. Again, they were part of Build Back Better that President Biden could never get enough support for. And with all the other economic issues that are going on right now, they've basically put it all on hold and said, look, we're not going to make any of these big changes until we can get inflation and some of these other things under control.
I saw a thing the other day that I guess it was up to 9.1% inflation.
Yeah,
and that was yesterday. I think it was all over Facebook that it went up like even more, and I know that we got quoted on a refinance for like 8%.
You can definitely set up a solo 401k, or even a solo self-directed 401k, which lets you contribute up to $20,500. Plus, if you have employees, you can contribute even more, up to $62,000 this year. This can be a great way to grow your wealth, especially if you have extra money. Initially, you might be doing loans, but over time, you could start buying actual assets, like properties, inside the account, all of it growing tax-free. When it comes to potential challenges, one big change on the horizon is the possible increase in long-term capital gains taxes. There's talk of bringing it back to ordinary tax rates for anyone making over $1 million from a transaction. For smaller investors making $10,000 to $50,000 on residential deals, this wouldn't have much impact. But for large investors, like those with commercial properties or malls worth millions, this could be a serious concern. A $10 million profit could be taxed at 37% to 40%, instead of the current 20% to 24%. That's a huge difference. Another thing people are watching is the potential removal of the step-up in basis rule when someone passes away. This rule lets heirs avoid capital gains tax on the appreciated value of real estate. However, this idea has mostly fizzled out. It was part of the Build Back Better plan that didn't gain enough support, and with inflation and other economic issues, those major changes are on hold for now. Inflation, by the way, recently hit 9.1%, and mortgage rates are up. Some people are refinancing with rates around 8%. These changes could definitely affect real estate investors.
Look, man, we both made some real money, but you start burning through, you make $2-3 million a year, you burning through $100,000 a month. You ain't really got that much money.
Shit, he probably spending way more than that.
No, I'm talking regular dudes. I see what you're
saying.
Say we make $3 million, we burning through $100,000 a month. We really don't got no paper like that saved up.
That's a fact.
So even if he's making $100 million, if he's burning through $5, $6, $7 million a month, you still got taxes, you still got responsibilities. So I don't know nobody's bag, but you know, me and you, we never count nobody's paper. So
not at all.
I hope he got $10 billion. And I hope he get out of his problem.
That's a fact, because you would figure he should be able to just cash him out, like whatever the tab is. You know, he should be able to wire that.
Floyd Mayweather's business partner recently shared a concerning truth about the boxer's finances. Despite earning over $1.2 billion throughout his career, Mayweather's extravagant lifestyle is draining his wealth. Even with millions coming in each year, his spending habits, on luxury cars, private jets, and expensive real estate, are outpacing his income. Reports suggest he's spending hundreds of thousands every month, and even with earnings that can top $100 million, his expenses are still too high. This financial strain is made worse by ongoing tax issues, including significant amounts owed to the IRS. Despite Mayweather's public image as one of the richest athletes in the world, these revelations suggest his financial situation might not be as stable as it seems. The combination of lavish spending and large debts raises serious concerns about the future sustainability of his wealth. Mayweather's financial troubles serve as a reminder that responsible wealth management is crucial, no matter how much money you make. Even with his enormous income from boxing and business, his spending on luxury goods and failure to properly manage his finances have left him facing significant debt and legal challenges, including unpaid taxes and wages. This situation highlights the importance of careful planning, because even the wealthiest individuals can find themselves in financial distress without it. That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next.